What's happening, guys? Retro motorcycles, what's your pick? Do you like the old school cafe hot rod like this Triumph T120, or do you prefer the 70s and 80s style Japanese street racers? Well, in this video, we're gonna chat about them. All right, guys, I'm blessed. I've got both. And although I won't necessarily admit to a favorite, there is one of the two that I might pick up the key for a little bit more than the other. But in talking about the riding experience, let's first dive into that Bonneville. The Bonneville is the most true if you're looking for a retro riding experience. And although it's got about double the horsepower than the motorcycles from the 1960s that it is emulating, it still has all of the sketchiness and weird sensations that will pop up that those motorcycles had back then. It's the most true to form, which makes it also the most true to function. And with a tune and with exhaust, that Bonneville T120 is a properly quick little hot rod of a motorcycle. You might be surprised how quick that bike will get you to 110 or 115 miles per hour. If nothing else, it ain't supposed to go that fast if it looks like that. And that's what makes it so much fun. It is a little bit of a sleeper, at least in that respect. You can really get yourself into a little bit of a jam, especially if you're coming from a sport bike background to one of these retro style bikes. They don't necessarily handle as well as what you may be used to. They make power in a little bit different way, at least with the parallel twins with Triumph. But the fun part about it is that you cannot get a more realistic retro experience with the power of a modern day hot rod. You're not going to be able to beat a Triumph T120 for that. But what about the Kawasaki Z900 RS variants? Guys, that bike for me represents what I wished motorcycles could have been when I first got into bikes. This bike, the styling alone is what grabs you, but it's got some real modern motorcycle underneath it. The underpinnings, the DNA, that's all modern hot rod. And so what you get with the Z900 RS is a bike that is retro in appearance, but modern in function. You do get the power to go along with the looks, and it's the power that you're really going after with these bikes, because by the comparison to its original namesake, if you will, the Z1, this bike's making about another 20 or 25 horsepower over that motorcycle. But it is the most neutered of the group when it comes to power potential on the big side. This bike now with the full Brock's Street Meg exhaust, with the Ivan's tune, with the airbox mods and everything else, is pushing about 130 to 135 horsepower at the flywheel, or about 120 odd horsepower at the rear wheel. To put that into perspective, the original motorcycle that this bike is patterned after at the flywheel made at the very most around 90 horsepower. Maybe 100 horsepower for the 1000cc variants, but you get the idea. This bike is significantly more powerful than the bikes that it emulates. But what's it like to ride? Well, as it sits, and again, both of them are very highly modified, at least up to the point where you're not cracking the seal to the engine. This motorcycle behind me will cruise comfortably at 110 miles per hour, 120 miles per hour, absolutely does it all day long. But it also has some handling chops to go along with it. It is set up a little bit soft as far as spring rates go, but that's not that big of a deal if you're just tooling around town. You can adjust it for some very spirited B and C road riding. So in that, you get a lot of what you kind of wished a modern take on a motorcycle like this would be, or more to the point, if you could find an original motorcycle and upgrade it and update it with modern suspension and maybe give it some more power, this is what you would end up with anyway. So it's a win-win. It's kind of a built-in resto mod, if you will, from the factory, with a lot of upside if you want to hot rod the thing. So which one do I prefer? Guys, depends on what color shirt I'm wearing that day, because I gotta tell you, they're both a riot to ride. The Kawasaki offers up a much more modern riding experience. There's something to be said for that. The extra power goes a long way if I'm wanting to run at a higher clip. However, if I'm just looking to go out and have motorcycle time, I just want to go out, rip into the throttle, and be propelled forward, guys, I got to tell you, I'm grabbing the key to that Bonneville every single time. But with that, post up your comments. Let me know what you think. If you are into these retro bikes, which do you prefer? And let me know why. And with that, that's a wrap. Adios.